Our first guest tonight is a talented actress you know from classic movies such as The Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink, and more recently from The Bear, Dahmer, and Riverdale. She currently is starring in Feud Capote versus the Swans, which airs Wednesdays at 10 p.m. on FX and streams the next day on Hulu. Let's take a look.
Hi, honey.
Oh, hi. I come bearing gifts.
Ooh, gracias. Thank you, thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Mwah. Mwah. Why is your friend sitting in the car?
John wants me to buy him a house in Malibu. Little Prince Pauper is pouting. Once he realizes there's a Manhattan waiting for him, he'll come in. When's dinner?
In an hour, but there's lots of snacky, drinky things. I hope you like nachos and tamales.
I love.
Do you know what that is?
Please welcome to the show, Molly Ringwald, everybody. Welcome to the show. Please join us. Take a seat.
I'm kind of afraid to sit down.
Oh, is it- do you
because
wear-
I never wear skirts that are this short.
Yeah.
So,
we can stand. Do you want to do a stand?
No, I can do it.
All right,
Yeah.
that's great.
All right.
Okay,
I did
great.
it.
Congratulations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for wearing pink. It's very fitting.
Yes.
Yes, it's very-
I'm reclaiming the color.
There you go, taking it back.
Yes.
I will say, oftentimes I will meet people in the show and I've known their work over the years, but I feel like I really know you from when I first saw your films, and I'm sure you have that all the time.
Yes.
And these are films now that your kids, you have a 20-year-old, you have 14-year-old twins.
Yes.
They're sort of, even a little bit older than when I first saw the movies, but have you
How
shown...
old were you?
I guess when they came out, well, maybe I was about 13 as well.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, 12, 13. And how do they respond to them?
Well, I saw The Breakfast Club with my daughter, my 20-year-old, when she was 10, which really is too young to see those movies. But all of her friends had seen them, and because 10 years old now is a little bit, I don't know, like.
Do you think it's older or younger?
I think it's older.
Yeah.
I think 10
Right.
now is sort of more like 13.
I think
then,
that's true.
You know. And it was a really incredible experience. I was really nervous. I was really scared that she wasn't going to like it.
Yep.
But she did. She really liked it. But a lot of the more racy stuff, the more late night stuff, kind of went over her head.
That's a dream, though. When you watch stuff with kids and you realize it's going over their head and you don't have to have a tricky conversation.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I saw the movie actually just recently, a couple weeks ago, with my 14-year-old twins. I was, again, really nervous that they weren't going to like it. And they both really liked it.
That's great.
You know, they did. They didn't pick up their phones once, which I think is a triumph.
Oh, my God.
I was sitting there and, I was watching. The phones were there, and I was like, how long is it going to take, But they also took issue with certain things, which I've sort of written about extensively.
Well, right. Some things have... It's an interesting situation. Some things have aged maybe not ideally, but also
Yeah.
I think one of the wonderful things about those films is when you if you can get past that, it did talk about things that kids still experience now, even though it's, in some cases almost 40 years later.
Yeah.
And not a lot of movies, I think, address them and sort of value kids' intelligence at the level those films did.
Yeah, and they really do still speak to kids, mostly because really, other than, the internet, which is huge, it hasn't really changed anything. People are still bullied, people still feel out of place and different and other, and no matter who you are. And sort of the amazing thing about The Breakfast Club, it was like we all feel the same.
Yes.
No matter who you are, you have these feelings, and that's a really powerful message for kids.
And I think it's nice to know that you can watch them now, and even if it does have or start conversations with your kids based on things that maybe are harder to watch today, that is what those movies always were good at.
Yeah.
It's having conversations that maybe parents and kids didn't quite know how to start with each other.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think it was maybe one of the longest conversations I've had with my 14-year-old in a while.
Wow.
You know,
so even after the film, they didn't go straight to their phones?
No, we sat and debriefed and talked about things.
Did it get so awkward at some point that, did you ever say, like, you should check, you guys might have some text, you should, you guys want to take a phone break and see what our friends are up to? Let's get on Instagram. Let's throw some likes out there.
No. I was just like loving it.
That's great.
Just loving it.
This is, I think, one similarity between this wonderful show is this is a show about another clique of people. This is an adult clique. This is about Truman Capote and this group of swans, as he called him, which was were a series of socialites that were his close friends. And over the course of the show, we see that not a lot of those friendships maintained over his lifetime. But you did play the one person who stayed close to him.
Yeah, I was not. My character is Joanne Carson, who, for people who don't know who Joanne Carson is or was, she was the second wife of Johnny Carson, who was, I don't know. I mean, does everyone still know who Johnny Carson was?
Yeah, I mean, I think they do. I think
really?
Johnny Carson, yeah. Although I do feel like we might worryingly be at the end of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, my kids, no idea who Johnny Carson was. But, you know, so he was this huge, you know, pretty much was the head of Hollywood. I mean, not the head, but like hugely important in Hollywood. And Joanne Carson was his second wife. And then they got divorced, and she was sort of on the outs, you know, to go from being with the most important person in Hollywood to all of a sudden not, you know, so she wasn't invited to the same parties, wasn't a part of the same group. And it happened around the same time that that Truman Capote had the big falling out with the Swans, who were Babe Paley and CZ Guest and Slim Keith and Lee Radziwill, who was Jackie Kennedy, Onassis' sister. And Joanne was really, they met in New York, but they really became friends after those events.
This is a Ryan Murphy show, and you play a kind person in this. And you were also in Dahmer, a Ryan Murphy show.
That's right. Also a kind person.
A kind person in that.
Yeah.
I think it's like I think no one has ever had a 2 Ryan Murphy show streak of playing a nice person. Do you have a dream, if you collaborated with him again, of what you would be cast as?
Yes.
What would you like to do?
I would like to play a psycho bitch.
Okay.
Am I allowed to say that on the show?
You should ask before you say it, but yes. You are allowed, not only are you allowed to say it, you're allowed to play it. And I feel like Mr. Murphy is, you know, one of his many strengths. He writes a great psycho bitch, and I feel like...
Yeah, I would be thrilled to play something other than a nice person. Although I'm really flattered, and I think it's really nice that clearly he thinks that I'm a nice person.
Right.
Yeah, but it would be fun to play something, you know, against type.
Yes, it would be nice to see. So I wanted, you mentioned, obviously I mentioned you're dressed in pink, and I grew my hair out during the pandemic, and I thought that my goal was to look like Steph from Pretty in Pink.
That's a good goal.
Yeah. Now, I came close-ish. I ran into a certain hurdle, which is my current hair does not have the fullness of James Spader 80s hair.
Neither does James Spader.
Yes. You know what? I will say.
Sorry, James.
It's true. I'm closer to it now than he is. So I've got that going for me. But I feel like I did okay. Not bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not bad, right?
You nailed it.
I feel really good about it.
You could have undone one of those buttons
there,
but yeah.
I also don't have Spader chest, but in general, it worked out. Well, thank you so much. I mean, coming from you, that means most of all. Because, by the way, I showed it to James, and he was like,
Hilarious.
Thanks so much for being here. What a pleasure and an honor. You guys, this is Molly Ringwald. Feud, Capote versus the Swans airs Wednesdays at 10 p.m. on FX and streams the next day on Hulu. Stick around. We'll be right back with Kay Adams.